That's what mare means, like a temple. So there are different types of temples built for different purposes, different reasons, and also different scales. What I mean by scales is, for example, you could have like a small there are 7 piles of rock in the middle section, and this is a fisherman's temple. Now there are different types again, like there are temples that are built for like religious purposes, others would be built for political meetings. Usually the international temples are used for political purposes. On the island called Raiatea, close to Bora Bora, there's an island called Raiatea where you'll find a international temple. So because back then, Raiatea used to be sort of like the capital. Have you heard of the term Polynesian triangle? No. Now, pinpoint 3 areas in the Pacific. North, you have Hawaii. Southwest, New Zealand. East, Easter Island. Back to Hawaii, you get a triangle. Okay, so all the islands in that triangle is part of Polynesia. Now, in the middle of that triangle, you have the island called Raiatea. And so back in the days, French and Tahitian since 1984. Because before that, the language was banned, especially from school. So kids were not allowed to speak Tahitian in school before the 80s. So it was only allowed in the 80s, 1984. So they will be punished for speaking the Tahitian language. Well, the French government, because they wanted the kids to learn proper French. So to educate the Tahitian, they banned the language only from school though.
So do you speak 3 languages?
Yeah. French, Tahitian, and English. There's one university, but it's small. Only 40% of the high school graduates go to that university because, only 40%. Because we don't have all the majors, so kids have to go to France, or within the past 15-20 years, I heard more and more kids going to Canada as well. And New Zealand, Australia. But it's mainly France and Canada.
This man carrying
he's carrying the bamboos. So they have plenty of bamboos in this area. They believe that there are people who have the ability to receive the spirit of their ancestors. Built in the 1100. The other two sections has been added later on over the years. But this place, after 24 months of settling, converted to Christianity, is the places and abandoned or destroyed. So in the 50s, they brought archaeologists to help rebuild it. They couldn't do much in the 80s, but in 2010, they started again, was building a good thing. Well, there's still a lot of missing parts of the temple. All the temples we already had a big British occupation, especially the northern part of Tahiti. So that's what they were worried about. And so that's why they took off and went to an uninhabited island called Pitcairn, burned down the ship, decided that they were not going to go anywhere. But my island is very small, just to give you guys an idea how small it is. If you were to drive around the island, it would take you about half an hour to circle it. About 24 kilometers around. And today there's about 2,000 people living on the island. Yeah, 2,000. Small. But it's one of the most populated in the Austral Islands. Yeah. So half of the island is related to my dad. The other half is related to my mom. And so I'm 100% related to everybody. So that's why I decided to run away from home. And that's why I went all the way to Hawaii. But anyways, I mean, the main reason I came to Tahiti was for school, because majority of the high schools are located here. But growing up in Tahiti or maybe on my island, there's not a lot of things to do. Because early in the morning we go to school, we finish around like 3:30, we get home by 4, and then we have chores to do, like taking care of the animals. So we had pigs, goats, and chickens. So we have to feed those animals. And at night we would do homework. But on weekends we will have to go farming again. So taro, mainly taro patches on the weekend, and sometimes we also have like potato farm. So when I was young, we used to grow potatoes. I think only our island grew potato, because it's located in the south, so it maybe like 3 to 4 months out of the year it gets cool enough so the temperatures can go as low as maybe like 15 degrees Celsius, which is somewhere around like 60, 65 Fahrenheit. So it gets cool, not super cold, but cool. So yeah, we would grow potatoes, all sorts of roots, plants, like cassava, sweet potatoes. So, you know, majority of kids, when it's school break, everybody's happy. We're the only ones that are sad. I mean, people from Tahiti, I mean, kids from Tahiti, from Tupui, because we all have to go to work. We know we gotta go to the farm during the school break. But it's a fun way. It's to learn how to work as well, the values of working. And then in the afternoon we will go fishing. Just go fishing within the lagoon area. Right there on the left side you have guava trees. On this building on the left is a coconut oil factory. They make oil for cosmetic, for example shampoos, soaps. They provide oil for using about 72 different products for big companies such as L'Oreal, Elsev, Ushuaia, 3 all those big companies, including French companies as well. So we are in an area called Atimaono, towards the end of the town called Papara. On the left side you see a golf course. Okay, right there. So that road goes to the entrance of the golf course, but it keeps on going. If you follow that road, you turn right and you reach the sugar mill, because this golf course used to be a sugarcane plantation, but before that it was a cotton plantation. So we used to grow cotton on this island. Why? Because in the States from 1861-65, there was a civil war. Union and Confederates. They tried to also abolish slavery. And there was a Scottishman here in Tahiti named William Stewart, who thought could take advantage of what's happening in the state to grow his own cotton and make money off of it. So he was planning to hire the Tahitians. Unfortunately, none of the Tahitians wanted to work for him for 3 reasons. Now, before I talk to you about these 3 reasons, on the left side, you see a huge building all the way in the back with green tin roof. You see it? So that building is the Noni Juice Factory. I don't know if you heard of Noni before. We'll get the chance to see some of those Noni, and I'll explain later on. But the Nonis are very healthy, very good for you. So the 3 reasons why Tahitians did not want to work for William Stewart. Number 1, the concept of money was new to the locals. Tahitians did not really understand why they needed to work to earn money. What is the money used for? Because back then they would trade. Okay. And for example, when my dad was younger, he told me that when they go fishing, come back, they keep enough fishes to feed the family, and the rest they would give it away to other people. And so there was never a need for money because it's more like a service given to other people, like for free. Second reason, cotton is not edible, so the Haitian did not understand why they should plant or work for something they cannot eat. Third, Tahitians back then, they would work as early as 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and they would work all the way until 9, maybe 10 o'clock at the most. But after that, they refused to stay out. You know why? Because it gets too hot, humid. So William Stewart thought he wouldn't make much money if he were to hire the Tahitians. And so he found a solution. He went all the way to Hong Kong, China, and brought 1,000 men to Tahiti. And so that's how the first wave of Chinese came to Tahiti. By the way, I don't know if you noticed that tiny island on the right side. You see as we keep on going. So that island belongs to the descendants of James Norman Hall. Has anybody heard of James Norman Hall? He's an author, writer. He wrote Mutiny on the Bounty, the trilogy, Hurricane, Man's Against the Sea. Yeah, all revolving around the story of the bounty. So he did not make up the story. He just collected all the infos and then romanticized the story. So it was a true story, by the way. So yeah, so that's how the first wave of Chinese came to Tahiti. So about 1,000 men, only men were allowed to come. And the cotton business lasted for only like 6 years. After that, it started going down, so they switched it to sugar cane. So that's how they started planting sugar cane along with coffee. And since they needed more workers, they brought the second wave of Chinese towards the late 1800s, early 1900s. And the second time they were allowed to bring their families, children and wives. Now after the whole plantation era was over, a lot of these, some of those Chinese families went back, but the majority of them stayed here. And they learned how to live together with the Tahitians. Because on one hand, you have the Chinese who are really, very smart, really good at making money. And on the other, you have the Tahitians who are really good at spending it. And so when you look around today, the wealthiest families are Chinese families. Pretty much all the businesses are owned by Chinese. Example, a lot of the hotels, whether it's on Bora Bora, Moorea, even the Hilton in Papeete, guess who own all that? Chinese. Yeah. Chinese descent though. What about the big supermarkets like Carrefour? We have 4 of them on this island. Guess who won all that? Chinese. What else? The Tahitian black pearl farm. Majority of the black pearl farm. Maybe like $180,000 just for land. And then if you want to build a house on top of it, it depends on the quality of the house. Probably around like $1,000.
At the Intercontinental.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the island that you're facing?
It's Moorea.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. So remember that Beverly Hills I told you, a very expensive area. Reason why it's so expensive, two main reasons. Number one is because it's of the location, so it's located close to Papeete, but at the same time not in Papeete. Because man, remember I talked about the traffic. It's very bad. For me to get to Papeete, I live about 19 kilometers away. It takes me about 20 minutes to get to Papeete, maybe 30 if I follow the speed limit. But during the rush hour, about an hour 30 minutes to an hour 40 minutes to get to Papeete instead of 20 minutes. So that's why people want to live closer to Papeete, but they don't want to live in Papeete because at night it's noisy, loud, with everybody partying, bars, dance, and also a lot of traffic. Second reason why it's so expensive is because of basically the view. So I don't know if you remember the view from your hotel. You can see the different shades of blue in the water. Okay. Because that side of the island is the only side that has a lagoon. It's the only side you see the reef barrier. There's no reef barrier here. Okay. Also, well, remember the view from the hotel. Imagine that view from the hills, very beautiful. And because that side is the west side of the island, that's where the sun sets. Okay. So when it sets right by the island of Moorea, it creates a really beautiful backdrop for photos. So that's why it's so expensive compared to this area. For example, you can find a house, like 2-bedroom house on this side of the island for about maybe $800 to $1,000. But on the other side of the island, again about $3,000 house. Alright guys, we are almost at the waterfall. Should be there in about 5 minutes. Betty, okay?
Yeah.
By the way, if you need to use the restrooms, we can